What's good? Welcome to First String Podcast. On today's episode of First String Podcast, we have David Harrison joining us from Locked On Commanders Podcast. We're going to talk a little Washington Commanders draft. We're also going to look at both men and women's NCAA championship games. Alex Ovechkin hit that magical number of 395. 395. And of course, don't forget, we have our championship March Madness Sports Movie Bracket finals today between, remember, the Titans and what was that other movie? Oh, yeah. You know what it is. My favorite, The Longest Yard. So I hope y'all ready. Let's go.
It's wartime, baby. This what you signed up for. This what we worked hard for. You for. Y'all the first string. Y'all gotta go set the tone now. Hey, let's go. Lace them up. It's the First String Podcast Show. Hey, let's go. They spitting facts on the First String Podcast Show. Hey, let's go. Let's go. Hey, let's go. Cause it's time for the First String Podcast Show. Hey, let's go. Lace them up. It's the First String Podcast Show. Hey, let's go. They spitting facts on the First String Podcast Show. Imagine talking sports, having fun with the fam. At a starting lineup, First String is what you have. An entertaining stream with the Pro Bowl cast. When the viewers chime in, they gon' answer what you ask. Representing for the Queens, yeah, we got Lady A. A super knowledgeable woman who can break down any play. Said from the South, so he rep GA. The Falcons, the Bulldogs, the whole Peach State. Drunk Uncle Al, only way you can describe him. Every time he crack the mic, you know he gon' be wildin'. Last but not least, it's my man Toothpick. Commanders is a squad and he the captain of the ship. So if you feel the vibe, go ahead and tune in. Like, subscribe, recommend to a friend. Nah, for real, like, subscribe, and recommend this to a friend. Hey, let's go. Cause it's time for the First String Podcast Show.
Welcome back to First String Podcast. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to First String Podcast. Hit the bell to enable alert for new content just like this. And the most important part is that you tell a friend to tell a friend about First String Podcast. And of course, you guys know that The Longest Yard was the movie that I wanted in there, but it got beat out by Any Given Sunday. Of course. Now listen, in everyone's life, there are a couple of snafus. So Said's running late, so he won't be here. Al is off trying to make horseshoes an official Olympic sport, so he's off talking to those guys. And Lady A has finally taken all the fine money that she's collected from us over the years, and she's off on an extravagant vacation. So it's just me and David Harris for right now until Sid gets here. So let's bring in our guest for today, David Harrison. How are you, sir?
What's up, man? I'm good. How you been?
I'm real good. Getting excited. We're like 19 days or something like that away from the NFL draft?
Yeah, man. Not much longer. Not much longer to go now.
Yeah, I mean, we're usually talking about draft in yeah. I said 895, bro. I said 895. We're usually talking about draft here in 16 days. Thank you, Dump Truck Don. We're 16 days away. We're usually talking about draft halfway through the season. But this year, we were, 55 points away from winning NFC East champion, away from winning the NFC championship game. Just 55 points. Not a lot, still hurts. 55 still hurts. But, what do we need to do to get back there? I mean, we've addressed a lot of issues in free agency. Right? We made some key trades addressing the offensive line, addressing the wide receiver position. Free agency, we addressed a lot of the defensive line. We still have some holes, such as the edge rusher. We still have a need for another wide receiver or two to be added in that room. and maybe some pieces in the secondary as well. Where do you think we go early in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, really, like there's no, unfortunately or fortunately, there's no definitive answer to that question, right? Like, there's really any amount of directions that Adam Peters could decide to go, including, and I've actually worked out this scenario on a mock draft Monday episode of Locked On Commanders in the past, where you come up at number 29 and a team like the Cleveland Browns sitting at number 33, so less than a handful of picks away, granted on day 2, not on day 1, but you look at your board and you're like, hey, I've got 5 or 6 players here that I kind of basically all have neck and neck, and I'd be happy with any of these 5 or 6 guys. And I've got this team calling me, whether it's the Browns or someone else, that's only going to drop me back, 5 or 6 picks, no more than 5 or 6 picks. So I know that no matter what happens between this pick and that pick, one of these guys that I'm happy enough taking right now is going to be available at that spot, so I can trade back, collect another pick either next year or even maybe this year, and kind of play the game that way. You know what I mean? So unless you have just a clear guy that's, we got 6 dudes, but this guy is number 1, and then everybody else is tied at 2 behind him. Unless you have that type of scenario, you have a lot of flexibility. Optionality is the way that Adam Peters describes it, and he's done a very good job this offseason of giving himself that optionality, because across the board, if you list a Washington Commanders starting depth chart today, even if it's not necessarily as improved in specific areas as many of us would have liked it to be at this point in the offseason, this team is at least no worse than it was last year, the last time we saw them on the field. So that gives Adam Peters that optionality that he craves to be able to go out there and truly get the best commander on the board.
Okay, the best commander on the board. Last year, we noticed that they had a lot of in the draft. We're speaking of, they got a lot of players with 4 or 5 year experience, such as Jaden Daniels, the corner. I can't say his name right now. Mikey Sainristil. Yeah, Mikey Sainristil. A lot of the players, they had a ton of experience, right? They brought a lot of veteran players in to take the leadership burden away from Jaden Daniels and things like that. Now, there are a couple of running backs and things like that are in this draft, but there are also some really sharp wide receivers in this draft to make this offense more dynamic and to put up more points. If you are sitting in that room with Adam Peters, right, just a fly on the wall, and you have, Joe Witt Jr. on one shoulder and Cliff Kingsbury on the other shoulder, who wins an argument for edge rusher versus offensive weapon?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it comes down to either man winning the argument per se. I think it just comes down to exactly what they've said the entire time. Which one is the best commander, right? Like, which one of these guys is that best commander? And, and this is something I love doing on my show is there's also this duo situation, right? Like, you might have 2 players, like maybe Mike Green is available and a Marion Hampton is available, or a wide receiver like Matthew Golden is available, and Cliff Kingsbury is sitting there saying, dude, like, give me Matthew Golden to go with Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, the wide receiver out of Texas, and Joe Witt Jr. is saying, bro, like, give me Mike Green, the edge rusher out of Marshall, and we can make some magic happen. But then you look down the board. What's coming at number 61, right? At number 61, we might be looking at Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State or Cam Scatterbo out of Arizona State being available. But then there's also, there's edge rushers like Olufemi, I can't remember his last name, Oladejo out of UCLA. Like, he might be a late second, early third. There's a range of expectation for where he might be able to go, and you might like his, raw talent just as much. And like, so it's, would you rather have a Marion Hampton, the running back, or Matthew Golden, the wide receiver now, and then have Oladejo in the second round potentially, or another edge rusher that might be available towards the end of the second round? Or would you rather have Mike Green in this example and a guy like Quinshon Judkins or Cam Scatterbo in the second round, right? Like, so that's kind of where you have to go with that, right? That's part of that process. That's why, like, a lot of times people sitting at home, you look at the best available players, and you're like, oh, Marion Hampton, like, it's not even Matthew Golden. It's not even a question. Why is this taking 8 minutes to figure out? Well, because there's other dominoes that got to fall as well. You know what I mean? And there's also trade offers coming in and all that stuff. So it's not necessarily about a guy winning the argument or losing the argument. I can tell you right now, like, Joe Witt Jr., if he wants to go in that room and be like, bro, like, look at everything you've done. Like, hey, listen, you've already spent a next year second, you already spent a this year third, you already spent a this year fifth. Like, you've already spent all these draft picks on the offense. Give Joe Witt some love, you know what I mean? But Joe Witt Jr. also understands that what is best for the Commanders is best for him as well. So at the end of the day, you know, I don't know if it's about who wins the argument so much as just everybody in the room understanding that what's best for the Commanders is what's going to happen, whether that's offense, whether it's defense.
All right. So listen, I understand that we think that a dynamic running back, which is what our guy Dump Truck Don is saying here. If you're looking at dynamic running backs, I'm just going to ask you to tell me, who do you believe is a dynamic running back in this draft class? I mean, this is a deep running back class. We all know the first one is going to be off the board, maybe in the top 6 to 10, right?
Yeah.
So besides that, and we know Hampton will probably be the second running back off the board. Tell me who you think is a dynamic running back in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ashton Genty right out of Boise State is the guy that you expect to come off first. And
Right.
you know, he's gotten comparisons to Alvin Kamara. It's funny because he's a running back who's never rushed for over 1,000 yards. But, you know, he's the first one probably coming off. Marion Hampton is expected to be the second guy coming off. And people expected that to come probably in the 20s, right? But at the same time, I always go back to Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, when Jahmyr Gibbs got drafted by the Detroit Lions, a lot of people were like, man, the Lions are crazy. The Lions have no idea what they're doing. Now, I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, like, when you play the Detroit Lions, like, Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the most dangerous players on the field and really just kind of terrifies you. Marion Hampton, if he's there at number 29, he's a very dynamic player. He's a guy who's very willing pass blocker. I think that's incredibly important now. You know, there's some things that he needs to clean up as a pass protector, like reading blitzes, understanding where defenses are coming from, how to stray from one side to the other. But the willingness to do it is there. Like, when he faces up against a rushing player or a blitzing linebacker, second level defender, he's absolutely willing to stand in there and take that fight to the ground if he needs to. So you love that competitive spirit. He's a pass catcher. He's a runner. You know what I mean? He's going to do all those things for you that you need. And I think he's faster than, you know, Brian Robinson Jr. Cam Scattaboo, I think most people kind of look at him as like a bowling ball type of guy. I'm here to tell you he can catch the ball better than people give him credit for. He's also a little bit more nimble than people give him credit for. I'm not going to sit here and say he's like this Swiss Army knife Alvin Kamara type, but he's certainly one of those guys. Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee is a guy with a lot of speed. Caleb Johnson out of Iowa has a lot of fans. I'm a big fan of Trevion Henderson. In my book, Trevion Henderson is actually RB3 in this class behind Hampton. But I know that some people have him, you know, within that third to like sixth running back range. He's a little bit more dynamic, I think, than Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State, but Quinshon is also up there as well. So, I mean, there's going to be options, and that's why, you know, that's one of those things too. Like, if Omarion Hampton is there at number 29, and, you know, I know he's got his group of fans within the Commanders fan base, and they're like, you have to take Omarion Hampton at number 29. I'm here to tell you, though, you don't actually have to take him at number 29. And I know it's going to make those fans upset, you know what I mean? Because they're going to think, well, you know, you get him, and this takes this offense to another level. But again, like I said, it's a combination of factors, right? If there's the right edge or the right safety or the right anything there, and they feel like, well, we've got 5 or 6 running backs in round 2 that we really love. So as long as there's not some insane run on the position, we're fine. Then you may see them go ahead and pass on a guy like that to go get another guy later on down the board.
Let's take that same question to the edge rusher. They say like the first round, like the first couple of picks in the first round, and then there's a huge drop off. So let's talk about this defensive line, and particularly the edge rush is what the Washington Commanders need, considering that our leading pass rusher last year went back to Dallas. List off some edge rushers that we could absolutely use. Green, as you mentioned earlier, is one, the defensive man out of Boston College, and as well as the one out of Marshall.
Yeah, so Mike Green out of Marshall, like he's interesting because, you know, the way I put it to my listeners, like if it's Madden, you take him 100% of the time. If it's Madden, honestly, Mike Green's not getting out of the top 15. The thing about Mike Green, though, is there is some off-field concerns. He's been accused of sexual assault a couple of times in his life, once in high school, once in college. He says the accusations that he received in Virginia is actually why he left Virginia and went to Marshall. He says that none of it was founded, none of it was legit. And I know that the one in college was actually an anonymous report, so there's not even like an investigation involved because you don't have an official complaint, right? So those types of things. But that's not something like I'm not sitting down with Mike Green in a closed room and saying, okay, dude, tell me what happened here and explain it. I'm not reading his body language and getting a feel for that. So it's hard for me to kind of say like, well, here's where his stock should be, because I don't have that opportunity to really vet those types of things the way that these NFL franchises do. From a pure talent perspective, Mike Green is one of the best talents in this draft. So if he slips at all, it's going to be most likely because of some of those potential, I should say, character concerns, because it wouldn't be fair to say that there are character concerns. I would say potential character concerns. Donovan Izaraku out of Boston College, he's really intriguing because, right, we've got this phrasing in today's NFL where we've got versatile players and you've got tweeners, right? Versatile players are guys you can kind of see fitting different roles and they're good at those roles. Tweeners are guys that are just kind of good at a lot of things but not great at anything. So I'm telling you right now, like there are some NFL teams that look at Donovan Izaraku as versatile, right? We can line him up in multiple different spots, use him on special teams, do all kinds of stuff. And there are teams that look at him as a tweener and they don't really know where to go with him. I kind of look at Isaiah Simmons, if you remember him coming out of Clemson,
Right.
As kind of a similar type of prospect. He's got to go to the right place. Is the Washington Commanders or are the Washington Commanders the right place? That's up for the coaching staff to decide. I'm interested in him. I'm curious. I'm definitely going to be watching his career no matter where he goes because I'm intrigued by him. But he's definitely one of those players that he's got to go to the right spot or else it's not going to work. James Pierce Jr., I'm not a big fan of James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. He's got to get bigger. And because he's got to get bigger, you don't know what it's going to do to his body. You don't know what it's going to do to his straight line speed, his ability to beat guys off the line of scrimmage. Like that can change a lot of things. The other thing I don't like necessarily about his tape as far as being a day one prospect is you don't see him really need counters a lot, but because he doesn't really need counters a lot, you also don't see him use counters a lot. And you like to see those kinds of things. It kind of reminds me of Chase Young coming out of Ohio State, didn't really have a lot of counters on tape. Kind of turns out because he doesn't have counters. He either just wins or he loses. You don't really want to spend a first-round pick on a guy like that. Mikel Williams is really interesting out of Georgia. I've seen some projections that have him going in the teens. Some have him being there at number 29. Certainly, I think from just like a raw tools set, definitely one of the better players in the NFL. I know we talk a lot about how much the Commanders prioritized experience in the last draft. I think certainly some prospects fit that mold. Jaden Daniels, Mikey Sainer still, like you mentioned. But let's not also forget that they also went out there and they prioritized traits, even in the face of lack of experience, like Luke McCaffrey, where they believe his traits will translate to what they want long-term and things like that. So, there's a little bit of a give and take for those types of things. Now, are they willing to make that compromise in the first round? That's a question for them to answer. Shamar Stewart, Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. I'll be honest with you, I'm not really as high on either of them as some people are. That may not be fair. That might be fair. There's a common thread in scouting that a lot of people believe that NFL or college pass rushing production translates to the National Football League. Well, for me, if pass rush production translates to the National Football League, then a lack of pass rush production should also probably translate to the National Football League. And with both of these guys, one of them transferred over from Purdue, comes to Texas A&M, has his sack total cut in half. The other one has all kinds of traits, but has very little production as a pass rusher. For me, on day one, I'm not willing to roll those dice on edge rushers like that. And those guys all have, like day one projections, day one, early day two. Landon Jackson out of Arkansas is a guy that's not getting really any pub, but in other draft classes would probably be a back end of day one guy. I mean, Princely Human Meelan out of Ole Miss, TJ Tuimoloau out of Ohio State is one of my favorite guys. There's a lot of edge talent, man. Like there is a ton of edge talent. So just like we go back to the running back class, like if you're a Commanders fan who's like, they got to take an edge at number 29. Again, no, they don't. Just because they don't take an edge at 29, if they don't take an edge at 29, don't get discouraged. Don't be like, oh, this is a waste of a draft class, because there are guys that are going to be available on day two.
Well, I do remember a couple of drafts ago, there was another young man that had some character concerns. He plays in Philadelphia, and he's a serious game wrecker. So if Green is that talent, do you think that they would, well, of course, do their due diligence and then decide, hey, we need to put a system in place to set this man up to succeed?
Yeah, that's an organizational question. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you, driving a car really fast is different than sexual assault. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I'm not trying to, make light of those things. I'm just saying, when it comes to like the organization setting up like the brotherhood, right? Of doing things the commander way to say, hey, you are a commander. Would those parameters be in place to make sure that he stays in the lane of putting the team first before yourself? That's the question I'm really asking here.
Yeah, I mean, certainly they're going to want that kind of a guy, you know what I mean, and then that message is going to be delivered. But these guys all, they're adults, you know what I mean, and there's no campus anymore, right? Like they get off work, they're off work till they come back to work, and what they do on their off time is their business. And Dorrance Armstrong Jr. isn't going to come out here and call Mike Green on a Saturday night and make sure that he's out there not getting in trouble and all those things. So again, it's something that I can't necessarily answer specifically because I'm not in the room with Mike. I was at the combine. I heard what he said at the combine. Understand it, great. I don't have the opportunity to talk to people who know him. I don't have the opportunity to talk to his coaches at Marshall, his coaches at Virginia. I don't have the opportunity to do those types of things. Or, well, I could reach out to them, but they're not going to talk to me about it. So there's information behind those accusations that I don't have. So it wouldn't be fair for me to sit here and say, like, yeah, it's worth taking the risk on, or it's not worth taking the risk on. It's just something that needs to be acknowledged and understood, that if the team drafts him, especially this team, let's be real, like this team is not that far away from all the crap that was going on before Dan Quinn and Peters got here and Josh Harris. And Josh Harris understands the optics of these types of things. So if they draft him, it's because they've done as much homework as they possibly can, and they feel confident that he's on the right side of those things.
All right, we got a question from the chat real fast here. This is a question for David. Out of all the options that we have in the draft, which one would shock you if they did it? Mine would be drafting the kicker before round 6.
Yeah, I don't see the need to draft a kicker, especially in this class. Like there's no kicker in this class that you just kind of look at as like this like generational kicker. You could put quarterback on there as well. You could put quarterback on that list. Like if they draft a quarterback, I'd be pretty surprised. Honestly, I'd actually be fairly surprised if they drafted a tight end as well. You bring John Bates back on a 4-year deal, and granted, I've had the contract conversations with my listeners a lot this offseason. Like a 4-year deal for John Bates doesn't actually lock him in for 4 years. Like if the team needs to move on from him, they can. So, you're not prohibited from drafting a tight end, and this is a very good tight end class. But you got Ben Sinnott that you have a lot of confidence in, a lot of faith in. Colson Yankoff is a tight end that had a big special teams role and was on the active roster last year. And then obviously, Zach Ertz is back. So if you draft a tight end, you're pretty much pushing Colson Yankoff off the roster, right? Like you're off the active roster. And I don't know where Colson is, because Colson's another one of those players, started his collegiate career as a quarterback, moved to wide receiver, ended up moving to tight end. So I don't know where he is in that development and how the team feels about him, long term. But spending a draft pick on a 4th tight end, even, if it came like 7th round, like I don't know if anybody in the 7th round is like, oh man, I'm blown away by that selection, right? That's why like even the person that asked the question said before the 6th round, if you get a kicker in the 7th round, all right, like, okay, fantastic. But I would be surprised to see a tight end, especially with the lack of picks that the Commanders have right now. I would be surprised to see a tight end be drafted. But again, you know what I mean? Like AP has always said it, like if he's the best guy for this team, they're going to go get him. But I would be surprised.
All right. My last question for you, and thank you for your time. We always appreciate you giving us time, especially on a Tuesday. I know you got to get ready for some things that you have coming up. Last question. Do we make a pick at 29? And if so, who do we pick?
Ooh, who is the pick? I mean, that's a tough one. I will tell you this. If the team picks at 29, I believe the pick is most likely either going to be Omarion Hampton, and he happens to be there. He happens to fall that far, which I'm not sure how much I'm confident he's going to, or the pick is Nick Emanwari, the safety out of South Carolina. And he's an interesting case study as well, because I know he's like one of Daniel Jeremiah's favorite players, but like PFF has him like with a firm 2nd round grade. He's kind of all over the board, but I think Nick Emanwari out of South Carolina, he's a big safety. He brings all the box stuff that Jeremy Chin brought last year. But he's a better cover safety if you need him to cover. You're not going to want to leave him as a single high guy, right? Like things like that. But if you need him to cover a tight end or like a bigger, big slot type of receiver, he can do it. He can be serviceable enough to do it. So I think he's a prospect I really like, that I know like I said, there's a wide range there. But I think that one of those two players is probably the guy. Again, edge is a big need, and I agree that it is a big need. But I feel like the guys that they would be most interested in drafting, sticking and picking at number 29, might be off the board by the time they get up there.
All right, I lied. One more question. All right.
Yeah, go for it.
Now, I don't do this often. Okay. So we have not a lot, but we have some positions that we still need to fill. All right. Which position does not get filled through the draft, but gets filled in free agency after the draft?
I mean, you could go with the cornerback group, right? Like I've done a few mock drafts where there's just not a corner that I would take for this team in the spots that I come up to pick for the Commanders in these mock drafts. And, corner certainly is a position that you can justify a need for, but it's also a position that you could justify and say, like, okay, if they go into the season, with the guys they have coming back, right? Marshawn Lattimore is going to get a full off season. Mikey Sanders still is going to be in his second year. And, I think most people assume that the plan is moving back inside. That's kind of where I am with it. But Percy Butler got some corner reps, at least in practices and things like that. I don't know if he's got a real future there, but Noah Igbenogany is back, who can play inside. He's also played outside. Jonathan Jones is a guy that can play inside, can play outside. Will Harris is a guy like if you draft Imori out of South Carolina, for example, to be that strong safety, and you don't get a corner, Will Harris is a guy that can come down and play in the slot, right? So like they have a lot of cornerbacks. And again, it puts Adam Peters in a position where he doesn't have to draft a corner if it's not the right corner, because there are some good corners out here who just flat out lack physicality, and they're going to get pushed around the field on an NFL field. And we just saw this team get rid of two corners, one by releasing him, one by letting him walk in free agency, who are that type of player. I don't think they're going to look for that type of player. So if you're looking out here at a cornerback prospect and you notice that the dude doesn't punch and press, the dude doesn't fight against a receiver's release, doesn't fight the stem, doesn't fight the trajectory of a stem, things like that, I don't think he's probably going to end up being a Commander. But, guys like Azariah Thomas, who shows a little bit of that potential, Trey Amos out of Ole Miss shows that potential, Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame shows that potential. Like there's a few guys out there, but they've got to be there. You know what I mean? Like if they're not on the board, they're simply not available. They're not available. So that is a position, but I don't know that I would necessarily see them. I mean, UDFA, like they'll go get an undrafted corner,
Right.
sure, but I don't know that like any big. I don't think that we should expect any type of free agent additions from this point forward that would come challenge for a starting job at this point.
Yeah, just a need, to strengthen up a position group. That was a great answer. But David, man, as always, again, thank you for your time. We really do appreciate it. And don't forget to watch Locked On Commanders podcast with David. Also, he puts out a ton of writing things. I'm always reading your articles as well. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Have a good night, man. Appreciate you.
All right. That is David Harrison, who we just had the pleasure of joining us. And now we got that dude that just arrived right as David's leaving. Man, how are you, Sid?
It's rough out there, man.
Right.
It was rough today, man. I mean, it is what it is. It was rough out there today.
Yeah. So I got a little bit of news.
Right.
Okay. So, Alvin's off today. He's trying to make horseshoes an official Olympic sport.
Wow.
Right. And Lady A has taken the fine money and she's on an extravagant vacation with the fine money.
I saw her out there, willing and dealing.
Yeah. So that's what's going on there. So it's you and I.
For sure.
It's you and I.
I got pieces of which I'll talk about in and out, which I was looking at for.
Yeah, we just looked at a little bit of the Commanders draft, and talked about a couple of things that could possibly happen. We looked at a couple of the running backs, some edge rushers. He talked a little cornerback with us about a position group that may not be drafted, and that cornerback was probably one of them. A couple of undrafted free agent signings and things like that. Also, tight end was a position that he said he would be surprised if they made a draft pick there, and the other one would be quarterback. That question came from our guy, John. Dump Truck Don also said we needed a dynamic running back, and he likes Travion Henderson out of Ohio State. There are a couple of other running backs that David.
Don't he have bad knees or something like that?
Travion Henderson does not have bad knees.
I made me think about a different guy there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. So, said we got to get into something really quick that we've been doing for the month of March, right? So, for those of y'all that know, we had our March Madness sports movie bracket, right? And we're down to our finals, right?
Right.
And our finals just happened to be Any Given Sunday and Remember the Titans. Now, listen, this thing is all it went from 32 movies, 32 sports movies down to 2. And we got to crown a champion before we could talk about the NCAA men's and women's champions.
Right.
We got to crown a champion here in our March Madness sports movie bracket, the first ever that has been done, right? So, of course, you got Al Pacino, Jamie Foxx, LL Cool J, Lawrence Taylor, Any Given Sunday, Jim Brown. The speech. You see Al Pacino down there giving the speech?
Yep.
You see him? Over here, you got Denzel Washington, Remember the Titans. You got Sunshine, right? You got your boy Sunshine. You got Faison. What's his name? Your boy that's in the T-Mobile commercials now. You got him, right? You got some characters in this movie.
Right.
You got your big boy that loves to sing soul songs and things like that. It's a really, really good movie. Also happens to be a true story about T.C. Williams. Right. So now's your chance, ladies and gentlemen, to cast your vote. Who is going to be the champion of our sports movie? Go ahead, start. Yeah. Our March Madness sports movie bracket.
Right.
Cast your votes now, please. Cast your votes now. Any Given Sunday or Remember the Titans. Put your votes in the chat, people. Put your votes in the chat. Put your votes in the chat. You get to decide. While we're speaking of decisions here, while we're speaking of decisions, we did have First String Podcast. NCAA bracket challenge go up again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, is it any surprise that Droop won again?
No.
Man, listen, Droop, I hope you got it. Hold on, let me see what you say. All right, so listen, Droop, I'm gonna show you right here where it says sent.
They did had him on the ropes.
Man, okay, look right here. Orders. Right there. Wait for it. Wait, right there.
There it is.
Sent.
Yep.
You see that? It says sent.
Yeah.
Right there for you. Right there for you, buddy.
It says sent.
It says sent. And I will screenshot this. I'll screenshot it to you right now there, buddy. So we can kind of
do that with the men's football now. 12 teams in it. One team comes out of the window.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. All right, Drew. Make sure that's correct right there.
So far, we got 2-0 Any Given Sunday. 2-0 Any Given Sunday. Thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for making your picks. Me and Pick have not picked.
We have not. Dump Truck Don, you've been real active in this chat. I know it's 20 people in this chat right now. Won't y'all go ahead and tell us what you guys think right? We got 11 people right here live on YouTube. Don't forget to like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us that good thumbs up. Hit the bell to enable alerts for new content just like this. For those of you watching on X, and we see a lot of people watching on X as well right now, your votes don't count live. We don't get them, but you know what? I'm going to see if I can get them live right now on X. Give me a second. I'm going to get in that chat real quick. Boop, 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 boop.
Come on, y'all go ahead and vote.
Live right.
Those
right.
of you that are inside here right now, go ahead and vote.
Yeah, if you're in X and you put them up in there, you put them in the chat right now. I can absolutely see them. I can see them now. So if you put them in there and you're on Toothpick 74's page, I can see him. If you're on Ublink's page, he should be able to see him. Lady A is in somewhere hot with no mosquitoes, and she should be able to see what you guys do. Wait, I don't know what Drew just said.
Give it Sunday. Get your vote in.
Get your vote in. Get your vote in right now, because we're gonna be closing this out here in a little bit. All right. Say it. Let's start off with Sunday. Okay. Yeah. Dawn Staley going up against Gino Auriemma. She was 1-0 against him in championship games. Dawn Staley came into championship games 3-0. Right. However, that team did lose this year to UConn. I think it was like by 30 points. Right. And we had our own Lou Holder come on and tell us that AZ Fudd was super duper excited, right? Lou Holder came on and said AD Fudd balled out, and he bragged about, you know, the talent coming out of the DMV and how good it was right now, right? And boy, oh boy, did AZ Fudd get on the NCAA stage and show out. Her mom wore a shirt that said "Fudd around and find out."
She did.
I think Dawn Staley found out, didn't she?
Hey, they were the more physical team, man, and their physicality and the good defense they were playing, it took South Carolina out of whatever rhythm they had coming into the championship game, and sometimes it's something that is just that little that'll do it to you. You know, it'll take over the game and get you out of your game. The next thing you know, you're down by 10 to 15 points. You don't even know how you got down 10 to 15 points. So it happens. It happens. I mean, you can't take anything away from South Carolina. I mean, they were the champions last year, and they made it all the way back to the finals with a chance to do back-to-back. So, I mean, you know, they accomplished a lot. I mean, they didn't hit their goal because, you know, they didn't win, but they accomplished a lot to get to where they were.
Yeah, they did. Listen, I love what Dawn Staley said. What Dawn Staley said, she said they beat our ass, but they didn't make us love it. I mean, because you can totally. There is a difference, right? You can get what they say. What movie was that when you put them on the pool table, took the stick, and talking about love it. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No.
LL Cool J, when he was evil, he was a drug dealer.
What was that?
Oh man, Deep Cover.
Oh, Deep Cover. Dude,
Deep Cover.
That was a long time ago.
He made him love it. He made him love the torture. Talk about love it.
That was a long time ago.
Okay, now listen. Florida in too deep. That's what it was. In too deep. See? John knows.
Yo, dump truck, put your bid in there. Put your pick in that dump truck. You commented on the story of Dawn Staley. What you pick? Any given Sunday, or remember the Titans? Come on, dump truck, put it up in there. Right now,
What
Indiana Sunday's up
movie?
2-0.
2-0.
He comes
All
it's
right.
from the chat. It's not from us. It's coming from the chat. You know who's voting. 2-0. Take your pick. Get in there. Choose what you're gonna choose. Because right now it's 2-0. Bruce
my
Wayne.
man here,
Remember the
he
Titans.
said-
It's 2-1 any given Sunday. It's 2-1 every given Sunday.
My man said, Cuzzo said, yep. He says, honestly, I hate to be any team next year playing South Carolina. They're going to be seeing red. I believe so. I believe that transfer portal is going to be amazing for Don Staley next year. Into deep. Omar Epps, undercover detective. LL was a drug kingpin. Remember the Titans was Bruce's as well. We're still waiting for yours, Dump Truck Don. We're still waiting for yours. And now let's talk about this Houston, Florida matchup. Now we talk about physical teams.
Mhm.
Houston absolutely was a physical team here.
Mhm.
Florida
True.
was a team that made adjustments late and said, you can't tell me that you didn't shout a little bit at the end because the SEC won. You can't tell me that you didn't stand up on SEC business when y'all only led the game for 24 seconds.
Yeah, because when they fell down by like 10, I think it was, I was like, all right, this is over. Because Houston was doing their thing. And then I was on the computer and I looked up, like, wait a minute, it's tied up 48 apiece? When did that happen? So then I was kind of watching it back and forth. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, they want to represent SEC. They're still sticking dirty Gators.
Yeah,
I'm an SEC fan.
I know. Gators eat bulldogs. I know.
Not in football. And baseball either. Because we just tapped that. We just beat them the other day. We just
Lady A's not here. She's somewhere with no mosquitoes, so she can't find you. Said she took the fine money.
She can always find you, man.
She can't. She stole all the fine money. Said she's literally somewhere, toes in the sand, ordering lobster.
On
us.
Not lobster.
Lobster. She is like sunglasses on, just like she's like this right now. She's with a big floppy hat on somewhere, like just
finger up in the air.
Garçon, bring me some more. So it us. These fines is ridiculous.
Man.
Fines is ridiculous, Lady A. They are. Yeah. So anyway.
But yeah, I was surprised when you see Florida making that run. No. I got one better. Hold on. I got one better.
You're not popping up like Candyman today.
Hey, for those of you who've seen this, y'all know what I'm talking about.
She is now popping up like Candyman today. You ain't talking about Beetlejuice. Said, I know you're not talking about Beetlejuice.
But for those of you who've seen it, you already know what I'm talking about. None one of you said. Beetlejuice. It was said like 4 times. Beetlejuice. Let me try again.
He did.
Oh boy, he cleared his throat. Let me try it again.
He did. Listen, well, we ain't saying it no more, bro. We ain't saying it no more. He said this 4 times pick. All it takes is 5 times. We ain't doing it no more. Listen, shouts out to Florida. They did the thing. Their coach, bro. Like he was incensed that whole game at the way that the game was being officiated. It seemed like it was in favor of Houston. Houston was being rewarded a lot of times for being the more aggressor. Florida was trying to adjust to the way that Houston played, but they seemed a step slow sometimes, drawing blocks instead of charges. But in the end, quick hands. The ball goes off old boy's feet. They get the ball, get a foul. He makes 1 out of 2. They get a timeout called, and they don't get a shot off. He goes up. He doesn't get a shot off. You got to get the shot off. He can't touch the ball because it'll be a travel, and ultimately Florida wins a close, tight game. What's your answer about UFL leaking oil, Sid? Was that up top? That's the one that you had up top?
Yeah, that's the one I started up there. It's
Here we go.
It's disappointing, John. It's disappointing. These guys, yes, they're not in the NFL. Yes, they're not getting paid NFL money. But yes, they are attaining injuries, injuries, that require more than what medical they have during the season. So it's disappointing at the same time, because these guys really don't make that much money. Let's be real about it. Canada maybe, but the UFL, no, they're not making that much money. They're making enough money. They're trying to get out there and put enough plays on tape that a team in the NFL will call them up and give them a chance. Like last year, I think last year the NFL pillaged the UFL last year, and a lot of them guys got shots at the NFL. Some made it, some didn't. I think even Atlanta brought 2 of them in. And I think one of them made the team.
Had a couple of kickers.
Yeah, but they got pillaged last year. They took a lot of people from UFL last year as unsigned free agents. But they need to fix that. And part of that is Rock talking with the NFL and trying to fix it. If they want the UFL to be a feeder league, get them some guys need a little playing time, a little seasoning before they can move up to the next level. So if they're gonna do that, they need to fix it. They need to make a better decision on how that works. Because again, like I said, these guys they're attaining injuries. They're not just lasting through the season. ACL is gonna last you a whole year if you pop an ACL.
Yeah, but those type of things you still getting seen for, right? If you obtain an injury in the line of business, you're getting seen for those.
Right.
It's not like
get seen to a point.
No. You're still going to receive your physical therapy and everything like that to get you back to where you were, right? Mm-hmm. However, when you're talking the year-round healthcare, your healthcare is going to go from before the season start, when you're in training camp and all those things, right? From when we start our workups until that post-season physical, or however long your playoff run is. Any injury sustained through there, your healthcare is covered, right? But what it's not going to cover is, because their money doesn't cover them for the months where they're not doing football activity type things with their teams, right? That's just like being, unemployed. You know what I mean? Like, well, right. when you I don't want to use this, not fired, but when you are, what's the word?
Laid off.
Yeah, when you're laid off, your coverage is going to cover you for what, like 30 more days or something like that.
Right, 30 days.
It's going to cover you for 30 days, and then you have to find a new job, find some new health care, find some new insurance and things like that. I believe that's what it is. Yes, you may be coming back to the UFL, right? But you also may be going on to a different football league. There are other choices that you have for yourself. So,
right.
Yeah, you're not in the NFL. They're not making NFL money, right? That's not what they're doing, right? They're not. The league isn't pulling in NFL type money. So if the league is not pulling in NFL type money, how can you expect them to pay as many players as they have all year round? You understand what I'm saying? The math ain't mathing in that equation, right? If you're not pulling down NFL money, yes, you're playing a physical contact sport. And what if you receive a injury doing organized football activities, you're going to be covered. But you trying to get better with your personal coach, that's on you. And yes, you're still working towards your goal. And I understand being empathetic, but they don't have that money. They are not making billions. I don't know. Sid, are you looking up how much they grossed last year?
No, but I will.
All right. So I could understand, because that math ain't mathing. You know what I mean? That math ain't mathing. If you're not making $100,000, you know, or if you were making $100,000, you could put $25,000 into a 401k. Let's just say 25 into a 401k, and you stop making $100,000. Can you still afford to put? And you start making, 15. Can you still afford to put 25,000 into that 401k? You can't. The math doesn't math, right? So, to promote the league in the off season and cover them away. Man, I don't know. There are probably all kinds of things that they probably can do. There are probably all kinds of things that they can do to promote this league a little better. But also, you got to remember that the other 4 big sports do take up other people's time, and spring football is something to combat baseball, right? And that's what it is, and that's why it is where it is. It's spring football because it's in that perfect spot where there's no NFL. Basketball is going to be coming down to the end right here. The NCAAs have just wound down, right? And you got the WNBA that's going to pick up here in a little bit, but they'll be almost done and almost into their beginning of their season. And you got that perfect little spot where it's just baseball, and you can fight against just baseball for people that want football.
Mm-hmm. Well, last year, they lost money last year.
And if you're losing money, you can't afford those type deals. The math don't math.
They made a little bit more this year, but they're losing money this year as well so far. Each of the players make about $2,500 a week, active or inactive, about $55,000 a year.
That's regular job money.
So they gotta get out and get a regular job after the season's over.
That's regular job money.
Yeah. So after the season's over, they gotta get out. They gotta get out and find a job.
Yeah. Okay. Over. Looks like our winner is Any Given Sunday. Right? Any Given Sunday is the winner. We had 2-1, right? Said, well, I was going to vote for Any Given Sunday anyway. What was your vote, Said?
That was my movie, Any Given Sunday.
I thought you said both were yours. Okay.
That's why I got the belt.
Oh, come on, man. Need I remind you where you finished at? Matter of fact, let's do that right now. Okay, listen. Since Said wants to pop collars right now, let's pop collars since Said wants to pop collars. Let's pop collars and bust bubbles, okay? Let's do it. All right. So in the First Ring Podcast Bracket Challenge, as we said earlier, Drew was our winner. He had 1,400 points. His champion was Florida, followed by Big O's picks. He had Houston as his champion. They lost. He had 1,190 points, followed by Lady A. She had Duke that didn't even make the championship with 1,160 points, followed by Toothpick, who had Houston as his champion, 990 points, followed by Ron O'Neal in 5th place, with Duke that didn't make the championship with 970 points, followed by the Tribe Beast. That would be Al with Duke that didn't make the championship at 970 points, right?
You know what, John? I like the way you think. I like the way you think, John. You know what? For the beginning of the season, next season, That's what I'm gonna do.
Now,
Woo!
here we go. In third from last place, Texas Dogs, with Georgia as the champ with 680 points.
That's right.
Didn't make it out the first round.
I did what I was supposed to do. If I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna fight from the beginning. I'm not gonna wait to the end.
Hey, now listen. Next to last was Sanchez with Kansas as the champion with 640 points, followed by Drew, who tried to put a second belt. He tried to put a second one in. Drew tried to put a second one in, and we told you only one.
Almost
So
got himself
Steve
banned.
Money, I think that's Drew. Yeah, that's Drew. Steve Money, that's Drew. 760, pick 2, 0 points, which stopped Sid from being next to last because Drew tried to put one in. That's it. So Sid, you was third from last.
That's right.
Yeah.
Consistency is the key.
Consistency is the key.
I didn't finish last year either, so hey, in
Consistency.
the college basketball.
Consistency.
Y'all mess around. I'm gonna work on it. Then y'all be upset when I'm walking out here with the title. You know what?
Woo! That's what they said. That's what they said. That's what they said. Okay, so I just got word from Lady A. She said she is definitely feet in the sand, not eating lobster right now. Shrimp scampi. Got it. All right, last thing we got to talk about is 895. 895. We talked about this the last time. We said Alex Ovechkin, one of the greatest goal scorers ever, got to 894 faster than Wayne Gretzky. Got to 894 faster than Wayne Gretzky. But is he on that Mount Rushmore of hockey, right? See, told you stop saying her name. You're right. You're absolutely right, John. The name that shall not be named is feet in the sand, shrimp scampi. Right. Okay. 895, one game faster than Alex, one game faster than Wayne Gretzky. However, is he going to take the place of Wayne Gretzky on that Mount Rushmore? I don't know. I still don't know. What would it take for him to surpass Wayne? Would it take for him to actually reach 1,000 goals? Is that possible?
Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, we know he's coming back next year, right? Now, he's been consistent at putting up 40-plus goals over the last couple of years. But I want to know what you guys think in the chat. He's at 895 now. He has more games left. They have had, I think they play Saturday, so they would have had since Sunday 5 days off. They were back on the ice the last couple of days. They have some time for everything to cool off. So now, right now, the only thing he's going to be doing is stat padding on this record, which it took 20-something years to break, right?
Right.
Like he got drafted the day before he broke the record 20 years ago. Pretty outstanding. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's different. He's bigger. He's faster. He's stronger. Before this year, you know, he didn't miss too many games. Yeah. Right. He missed a few games. I was actually going there. I was actually going to that area right there. He missed a few games this year due to a broken fibula, right? Which is the small bone in your leg, not the big bone, not the weight bearing bone, but it's the small bone in your leg. Other than that, he hasn't missed a lot of games. So he could have put up 50 this year. Absolutely, dump truck down. He could have put up 50 this year and passed this record earlier. So let's just say he stays healthy next year. Do we see 50 goals in his future? I mean, they're still bringing more talent around him, and the team is way stronger, and they're getting better. You know, and in hockey, I don't believe they count the playoff goals. as going towards your regular point total. I mean, somewhere along the line, I'm guessing they do. But as far as this record goes, I think that doesn't count in the playoffs. I don't think your playoff goals go towards your goal scoring. I think that's just in a whole different bucket of goals, right? So could we possibly see him, put up a couple more 50-game seasons and wind up with something like, 995, and then maybe he sticks around for 1,000, and then that record, when does that record get broken? What do you guys think? Is it possible he could have 100 more goals in 2.5 more seasons? 100 more goals in 2.5 more seasons. That would do it.
Mm-hmm.
That would do it. That would get you really, really close. And then if he goes off on a hattie, because he almost had a hattie that Sunday, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not that Sunday, but that what was it? That Friday night when he was winning, he was actually 3 goals away. He was 2 goals from tying, three away from breaking. He got 2, didn't want to go back in for the empty netter, right? A couple more empty netters, a couple more hat tricks here and there, and I possibly could see it. So, maybe he puts 1,000 on this thing. But the one thing I do like and I do appreciate is, Wayne Gretzky's wife received something from Hal's wife when Wayne broke the record. And so it's like in hockey, they have these traditions, right? And she got Alex's wife a ring with 8 diamonds in it, right? He wears the number 8. There's a lot of symbolism in that, right? And so now if Alex passes this, if someone passes Alex's record and he shows up, right, and he's as gracious as Wayne was to him, what does she get the next wife? That's amazing. You know what I mean? Like, and Wayne's wife received like this crazy bracelet from Hal's wife. Like, she got her beautiful bracelet. So, she got her a ring with 8 diamonds in it, for her. So I do appreciate those type things. And Wayne Gretzky said it made him feel like Wayne Gretzky had 120 playoff goals. Alex has 72 playoff goals. Don't trick Don over there doing the research for us. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So yeah, the playoff goals, they go into a whole separate thing, right? Cool. So excited for a little playoff hockey. Looking forward to that right here. It's coming up soon. Playoff goals do not count towards career goals. Absolutely. That's what I said. So a whole nother bucket, right? Little playoff hockey should be coming up here to keep us going, but also said it's almost time for somebody to go fishing. You know what that means? NBA playoffs will be coming up soon. We may not be leaking oil, said, but we will be sending somebody fishing.
Yes, they will be.
They'll be going fishing. They'll be going to Cancun when they'll be getting tea times. They'll be getting some tea times. Going to play golf, buddy. So, hey, listen, that is our show for today. Hopefully we'll see you guys on Saturday. We'll be doing another mock draft. We'll have some other guests for you guys as well. The Wizards are leaking oil and going fishing. Absolutely. and they're going to Cancun. They doing all 3. Leaking oil, going fishing, going to Cancun, and got tea times. But hopefully, by doing all that, they can get a number 1 pick. Hopefully they can get a number 1 pick. All right, so listen, hopefully Al will be back and he can tell us how his Olympic adventure's gone for horseshoes. And Lady A, maybe she'll be back. She may still be on the beach, spinning up the fine money. All right. Sid, did we cover all of our bases today?
We hit it all.
Hit it all. That's what we like to do.
So we know the Braves ain't hitting nothing.
Well, we know the Nats beat the Dodgers. How about that?
Good job. I'm gonna give y'all hands up for that. Dodgers over there stacking anyway. I hope the luxury payroll choked that team to the ground.
Right.
Stop hating.
Hey, Stan, guess what?
Who's that?
Shouts out to my son, United States Air Force here in Texas.
All right.
First Stream Podcast, second to none. Come get some. Tell them, say it.
Go Dogs.
Raise hell.
Slides is stinking game.
It's wartime, baby. This what you signed up for. This what we worked hard for. You for. Y'all the first string. Y'all gotta go set the tone now. Hey, let's go. Lace 'em up. It's the First String Podcast Show. Hey, let's go. They spitting facts on the First String Podcast Show. Hey, let's go. Let's go. Hey, let's go. 'Cause it's time for the First String Podcast Show. Hey, let's go. Lace 'em up. It's the First String Podcast Show. Hey, let's go. They spitting facts on the First String Podcast Show. Imagine talking sports, having fun with the fam. At a starting lineup, First String is what you have. An entertaining stream with the Pro Bowl cast. When the viewers chime in, they gon' answer what you ask. Representing for the Queens, yeah, we got Lady A. A super knowledgeable woman who can break down any play. Say it from the South, so he rep GA. The Falcons, the Bulldogs, the whole Peach State. Drunk Uncle Al, only way you can describe him. Every time he crack the mic, you know he gon' be wildin'. Last but not least, it's my man Toothpick. Commanders is a squad and he the captain of the ship. So if you feel the vibe, go ahead and tune in.